Hello to you all. Before I start, I have a confession to make. It will be my very first time to be on the stage. I'm sitting with such powerful men and women that has been in the speaking space for such a long time. So when he created the flyer, I had to go on the internet and try to find out who is this person that I'm coming to. And I discovered that you all are so powerful, and I'm asking myself, am I really ready for this? So when he called me, when he sent me a text and said, are you ready? I said, I don't know. Just because I am entering into a space that I've discovered that people that are in this space are very powerful. And so I'm not sure if I'm able to put my foot into that shoe, but I don't believe in failure. I believe in what the first speaker has just said, Dr. Claudia, purpose. And I believe that every purpose, when you fail, is a place for you to rise up, not a place for you to stay down. So I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come into this space to listen to my story. And so it's a passionate story. It's a story that brought me into what I'm doing today. And I just hope that you'll pick up something from it. In 1994, I had a decision to make. Not one I planned, not one I hoped for, but one that would change the entire trajectory of my life. What I did not understand was God was working something that was far way bigger than I could ever imagine for my life. I was a young woman filled with promise. I was growing up in a home, even though my parents were not military, but they behaved like military parents. When they say yes, it's yes. When they say no, it's no. When they say be in this sport, you better be. And if they say do this, you better do it. As I was growing up, I was in high school at that age. At that time, 1994, I was 18 years of age. And my parents had a dream for me. Their dream for me was to become a teacher. As a matter of fact, teaching was something that was normal in the family. Once you finish high school, you will have to take the entrance exam into a teaching profession. And it was a ceiling that nobody dared to question. I was preparing for my GCE advanced level, that is an exit exam from high school. And that examination will determine my future. Something happened. Yes, I cannot even believe it up to today because I was a bright student, but I failed the examination, as nature will have its course. My parents' dream for me suddenly became far-reached. And something even worse happened in my life, that I found myself looking at a whole different pathway that I never had thought about. There was this young man in my life, 24 years of age. He was a graduate from the École Normale Supérieure Annexe Yaoundé. This is a prestigious university. He came back from his graduation and he was looking forward to receive his first salary. And his first salary is 1 year worth of money that was locked up in the government. So before you graduate from that university, you have 1 year of salary for you, waiting for you. And that will be given to you 6 weeks after you graduate. I remember he was always talking to me about to get that money, get a red Subaru car that will be able to take him to work, bring him back home, and he will be living a very good lifestyle. His name was Henry. He loved me so much. As a matter of fact, he had written a book that was yet to be published. I know he was talking about that book. It was in the very early days of our relationship, and we were invited to attend a party at the governor's house. He told me on a Thursday, and the very next day will be Friday, the day of the event. My mom left to the village on that Friday, and when she was leaving, her instructions were very clear to me. She said, do not leave this house. Stay at home and make sure everything is in order. So when Henry came to collect me for that party on that evening, of course my dad was working outside of our region, so he would always come in once a month to check on us to see how we were doing. And so when Henry came, I told him I will not be going to that party, unfortunately. He was so furious, he was angry. And he said, give me something of yours so I can take with me when I go there. Then when he goes there, he will, be relating to that. He will feel my presence. And he said he already told his friends that I was gonna be there. And so why did I decide last minute? I told him I'm going to follow the instructions of my mother. And so I reached up to my neck and pulled out my 16-karat gold necklace, and I placed it in his hands. He left like few minutes after 7 p.m. and about 9 p.m. he returned. And I asked him why so early. He said he met with some jealous girls in the party, and they were asking of me and the reason for which I am not in the occasion. So after he had had something to eat and drink, he decided to leave. I turned on the television channel. We were watching a series that was going on. I remember two of my siblings were in the living room, and I was sitting at the couch with him, and we were watching the show. About 15 minutes or so, he started complaining of chest pain. And I told him that I normally have chest pain, and when that happens, raw peanuts helps me to relieve the pain. So I went in the kitchen, I brought out a plate of peanuts. We both ate. But then he said, the pain is getting worse, and so he needed to leave to go lay down so that he might feel better. I watched him leave at about 10 p.m. I was concerned, but I wasn't alarmed. The very next day was Saturday. He normally will come home by 12 noon and we'll eat lunch together. But by that 12 noon, I didn't see him. By 2 p.m., I didn't see him. So I waited until 4 p.m. I decided to dress up to go check on him since he said he was sick. When I was in my room dressing up, I heard some footsteps on the hallway and then a sudden bang on my door. I opened the door and it was my cousin. She was breathless. She was in a panic. And she asked me a question, have you seen Henry today? I told her no. She said she was coming from the hospital where her elder sister was admitted. And she said on her way in, she saw a crowd of people that were crying and mourning. It was very unusual. So she decided to approach that crowd. When she approached the crowd, they told her that there was a young, handsome man lying on the bed. She went in to look, and she told me what I have never expected in my life to hear. She said she saw the body of Henry lying on the bed, lifeless. I thought I was dreaming at first, and I kept looking at her. Then she asked me, did you give him your necklace? Because his chest was left open, and I saw that he had your necklace on. That was when, in shock, I believed what she was saying. And I told her yes. She said when she left the room and went outside, she said she was hearing something that she was in disbelief. And she said, the last thing that he said before he died was that he ate at the governor's house and he ate peanuts in my house. And she said, the parents are pointing a finger at me. They said, I am the cause of death. At that moment, I thought I was hallucinating. I started crying, I was screaming. I thought in my screaming, he would probably hear me and wake up and maybe speak the truth of what has gone on. I cried and cried and cried until I cried no more. The subsequent days that followed, depression had wrapped around me like a second skin. Anxiety was my constant companion. I was not eating, I was not drinking, I was hopeless. 2 weeks after the fact, his funeral was arranged and burial. I told my family I need to go so that I can get a closure. My family said, no, do not go anywhere. Stay until they finish their investigation and let us hear the feedback. When Henry was buried, it was like a part of me was missing, because I could not just understand that somebody that I was sitting with less than 24 hours, that had so much life in him, was dead. The funeral passed and gone. Now, more gradually and more dangerously, I started having suicidal thoughts. I remember it was on a Tuesday. I had an intent, I had a plan, and I was going to carry it out at 9 p.m. when everybody was asleep. But something happened. One of my friends came into my room that Tuesday afternoon. She was sitting on my bed and she looked at me on the face. She said, there is one thing that will help you out of this situation. She said, we know who you are. She thinks that if I give my life to Jesus and go to church, I will be delivered from whatever was going on in my mind. I look at my friend today, she's still living in a city called Douala. I looked at her in the face and I told her that if I do not find that your God by 9 p.m., it will be too late. She searched around the community and there was a church that was open on that Tuesday by 5 p.m. And so we walked there and we waited until the man of God came, opened the church, we went in, and everything that man of God said on that day was how God can deliver people from their darkness, how God can save people. It does not matter how difficult your situation is, God can bring you out. He shared about the love of God. And I told myself, let me give it a chance. After the service, I let the man of God pray for me. And my friend promised me the very next day was Wednesday. That's when they have their own Bible study. She said, I will bring you to my church so you can share your story to my pastor. That happened on that Tuesday. And the pastor, who is of late today, may his soul rest in peace, he partnered me with somebody that followed up with prayers and consistency every day to make sure that I was okay. Suddenly, I found depression and anxiety gradually left me. 4 months down the line, Henry's brother came to the house. He took a chair and was sitting right in front of me. He looked straight to my eyes. He said Henry was poisoned at the party in the governor's house. His ex-girlfriend, who was told that I will be there with him, he had prepared poison for that occasion. He paused, and then he said, the poison was not meant for Henry. It was meant for you. And I looked at him. He said yes. His ex-girlfriend gave him the food and drink that was laced in your absence and told him that if she cannot have him for herself, nobody else would. the food and drink that was laced was actually meant to eliminate me by somebody that I have never come in contact with. I don't know him. As a matter of fact, I started imagining my life with Henry, that it was just 2 weeks after the fact when he got into a relationship with me, I would have lost my life. But what saved me was the fact that my mother told me not to leave the house, and I followed my mom's instructions. But after I have received this disclosure, this is when my story starts. I asked myself a question, and I want each and every one of us in this room to ask ourselves this question today. Is this what life is all about? School, work, eat, drink, marry, have children, and when death comes, you embrace it and you're gone and nobody knows about you? That was when I come to a sense of realization. That realization today came to a calling over my life. I realized that when I was going through depression and anxiety, there was no mental health institution that was available to take care of me. Then when I looked around my community, I found out that there were so many people living with the same condition, and they are left alone because nobody understands them. Worse, there were people that were living with bipolar, schizophrenia, and all kinds of mental health issues, and they were not being given the treatment that they deserve. This realization to me became so urgent, and I decided that I will pursue a career in healthcare so that I can be the solution to the problem that is infesting my community. Mental illness, when I did my research at that time, every person that struggled with mental illness, they are being misjudged, they were being abandoned, they were stigmatized, and their family just left them alone because they do not understand the disease and the disease process. I pursued a degree in nursing and advanced practice. Became a nurse practitioner, and the Lord, who showed me love, gave me the name of the practice, Mercy Seat Mental Health. And today, as we speak, for over 700 patient census that I have, the story behind those who struggle with depression and anxiety, their trigger is not so far from where I come from where the Lord brought me out of. Every patient have their own story, but it's not very far from where I was coming from, including this 24-year-old Asian lady who came to the office one day. She was so depressed, she was anxious, and she was just tearing out, having anhedonia, hopeless, helpless, and the trigger for her symptoms was that the father of her 2-month-old son left her. I did a talk therapy with her and shared my story in between it. At the end of the session, she agreed on treatment options, which I did send some medication to the pharmacy and reschedule her for a 2-week follow-up. When she came after her 2 weeks, she came with bright affects. She was smiling. She was so encouraged, and she looked at me in the face and said, "Thank you. Thank you for taking care of me." She said, "I took the medication just for 3 days, and I realized that I'm no longer depressed." And the story behind it is what you shared. She said, "Thank you for sharing your personal story for me, because not everybody does." Within my practice, I have seen tremendous success with therapy and medication, and people who have mental illness have been able to live a normal life. Each and every one of us, like Dr. Claudia was saying, we were created with an inherent nature. We do have an inherent nature
within us that was given to us, and that is very powerful. Once you discover that which was given to you or deposited in you the day you were created, you will have passion with everything that is happening around you. That is what makes you and I unique in our abilities, our capabilities, and in our calling. Now, I also believe that anybody that has been successful in life have come across failure, challenges, pain. And so it is not the pain that limits them. That pain is just the doorway to advance forward. It is just the gateway for you to move forward. Because at the time that you reach your goal, you will discover that the solution to that problem while you were down is a solution to many people. It's a solution to many people. I can't imagine my life without this career. Not because of the money, because out of the sensors that I have, if you go and look at hundreds of them, I cannot bill their insurance. Some of them, they cannot pay me. But the reason for my day-to-day advancement and building is because of the good outcome that I see every single day. Denzel Washington once said, he said, whatever thing you want to do in life, that thing that you want to do to help people, to grow and make money, you could relate to that. That desire, that itch, it is God's proof sent to you before you were even born to let you know that you can have it. Whatever thing good you want, you can have it. Work hard to get it. And when you get it, reach back, pull one, reach one, teach one. Do not only aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference. And I think this is very pivotal for our conversation today. Success does not only mean carrying money in your pocket and the bank account that is packed with money in there, but it's the positive difference that we impact the life of others. That is what makes us special. It is what makes us different in our abilities, in our career. When I was walking the streets of Hollywood, I saw that there were names that are on the floor, and on that names are stars. Those stars and those names reflect the people who are very intentional in life, and they have an impact, positive impact in the life of others. When I was watching the Super Bowl halftime event of 2025, I watched Kendrick Lamar. He didn't mean anything to me. I did not enjoy what he was displaying. The very day that followed, I went on the internet. The whole world was dancing to one rhythm. It does not matter their age, their gender, their ethnicity, but all around the world, they were dancing to that tune. Everybody was going, dun, 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 dun. And now I just started to reflect and say, let me go back and search who this guy was. And as I was doing my research, I discovered that he came from Compton. He grew up in a very poor home in Compton. And he has built himself, his passion, he carried it out, so much so that his career has led him to be in Hollywood. He does not smell like Compton anymore. He is formed to the full version of what he was called to do. And the whole world celebrates him. We are all called. You are called. I am called. We are called to be that star. Our star cannot be only written down on the floor so people can walk and look at. Our star is written in our career. It is written on that passion that is in you. It is written in all your endeavors in life. And one day we will have that moment. The thing about life is, like Dr. Clara was saying, at the point of death, what do you leave back? As we were driving down the freeway, Oliver was talking about people that have built this world so beautiful, that we are enjoying. What are we leaving behind for those to come? And that touched me. We need to live a lifestyle that we are able to impact the life of others, so that when you leave this earth, people will remember you. People will have to remember you and have no choice. That is why we come to this world and we come to deliver. It's about others, it's not only about ourselves. The reason why people die regretting is because they have an emptiness in them. As a matter of fact, science says that 92% of people end up not living their dream. My question to you is, are you one of that 92% of people? It will be very frustrating that you pass this air and you do not live your dream. And if you do not live your dream, it means that you do not leave a mark. And so my story today is about a meaningful existence. It's a life worth living. And that's it. You have to be intentional in everything that you do. You have to make sure that you put yourself, you subject yourself under pressure to be able to be formed, to be the full version of who you are. And when you do that, you will know that you are in a place where they call you successful. And success is not measured by the amount of money that is in your pocket, but by the impact that you have in the life of so many people. So let's not accept what the enemy has put upon us. Let's not accept anything that the enemy has put upon us, but let us rise up from that failed position. Let's rise up from that failed relationship. Let's rise up from anything that wants to make us go down. And when we rise up, we will know that a meaningful existence is the only life worth living. So I want to end at this, but I want to say this before I leave. There are steps that I took to be where I am. And the steps, I believe that is each and every one of us, we take that steps, we will be where we ought to be where God has placed us to be. And the first thing that I did was to acknowledge. I acknowledged the fact that I was depressed. I acknowledged the fact that my life was in a mess, in a shamble. I acknowledged, and when you acknowledge, it is not defeat, it is called courage. Not everybody that faces a downfall have that courage to face their failure. And when you cannot change anything that you cannot confront. So when you acknowledge it, you are acknowledging that you are in the position where you are, but you are going to move forward. And the second step that I took was to make a decision. A decision is not a hope, it's not a wish. It is something that you're very intentional about it. You write it down, you put it somewhere in your wall, you read about it every single day. And the very third step was to take an action. You know the difference between those who take action and those who dream. About those who dream and those who are successful is action. If you take an action, then it means that you will reach where you are. And action does not mean that you take big steps. You take baby steps. Like when I started, I took the first step, I took the second step, I enrolled, I studied, I failed, I picked up myself, I advanced, and then I built. That is action. We need to be intentional when we take action. And the fourth step is to reach back, like Denzel Washington said. You reach back, you're reaching back because as you reach back, you will see that there are so many people, thousands of people still sitting at the place where you were once was. And you have to pull them up. You have to be their cheerleader. You have to encourage them so that they can come up. And the very last step, and I'll end, is to make sure that you commit yourself to continuous growth. The full version of you is not what you have achieved now. The full version of you is your constant research. It's your constant trying to know more. Because you see, technology today, it changes. And so you need to be constantly and build yourself so that you can be the full version of who God has called you to be. And when you do that, you will see that a meaningful existence is the only life worth living. Thank you so very much.